Welcome back for episode number 9 of Warhammer 40k Imperium. This is issue number 9. We have 13 miniatures in this issue. Necron Warriors and Scarabs, a Space Marine chapter foldout, and an action-packed playthrough. Okay, in this issue of Imperium contains the first parts of your unit of Necron Warriors and your unit of Canoptek Scarab Swarms. You'll need issue 10 before you can build these models, but for now there's plenty of content to enjoy. Learn more about the rich, detailed background of the Warhammer 40k universe before moving on to an exciting new playthrough. Happy hobbying. Okay, and we have background on the Warrior Phalanx, the Canoptek Scarabs, the Ultramarines, Courage and Honor, the Age of Witches, and the Soulless Cohort, and Chapter Organization, which is a Space Marines foldout. And then we have our build guide for the Necron Warriors, and the playthrough Duel in the Depths. Now the units included in this issue are actually covered over 2 issues. There is, I believe, 4 warriors and 2 scarabs in this issue, and the next issue is 6 warriors and 1 scarab, for a total of 13 Necron warriors and 2 scarab swarms. That's issue number 9s, and there's issue number 10s. And of course, they come with the big bases for the Scarab Swarms and the small bases for the Necron Warriors. Okay, Warrior Phalanx, the Silent Legions. Necron Warriors form the core of the Necron Legions. They go to war in phalanxes, standing shoulder to shoulder. They lumber forward and target their unfortunate foes with steady fire from Gauss weapons. Phalanxes. Necron warriors fight in groups called phalanxes. Each phalanx is formed of 10 Necron warriors. A phalanx fights in tight formation, advancing slowly but relentlessly while driving back their opponents with volleys of Gauss fire. Most Necron dynasties can field hundreds of phalanxes of soulless Necron warriors. This combination of superior firepower and overwhelming numbers usually results in a quick defeat for the dynasty's foes. Necron glyphs. Each dynasty has its own glyph. Nobles bear the full dynastic glyph, while their phalanxes under their command bear glyphs made of only elements of the dynastic glyph. Zarkon glyph. Phalanx glyph. And those are all examples of the variations of the phalanx glyph the Necron warriors would bear, as opposed to the full glyph that the nobles would. Okay, over here we have Warrior Unit 718Z/019/NC0875F. Okay, worn by time. Warriors often have damage to their bodies from their eons of existence and surface. Gauss Reaper. More compact than the Gauss Flare, the double-barreled Gauss Reaper is far easier for a Necron warrior to fire whilst moving across the battlefield. The beams emitted by the Gauss Reaper are more devastating than those of the Gauss Flare, but they do not have as much range. So, I guess the analogy would kind of be like a shotgun as opposed to a rifle. Gauss Flare. Like all Gauss weapons, the Gauss Flare's beam disrupts the atomic structure of all that it strikes. With appropriate targeting protocols, this weapon is accurate at range and can be fired quickly at closer targets. However, it is slightly less powerful than many other Gauss weapons. Okay, battle record. Bring your models to life by recording their details in the boxes below. Necron nobles see Necron warriors as property, taking great pride in the number of phalanxes under their command. Having served their dynasty for millennia, most phalanxes have a lengthy history of war and bear battle damage to prove it. Phalanx degradations. Each phalanx can be given a unique designation. Refer to B background 01 to generate a name. A Legion Commander. Each phalanx is property of a Necron noble. Write down the name of the Necron commander. Cohort. Each phalanx belongs to a cohort, a group of 5 phalanxes. There are 2 cohorts in each legion. Phalanx. Within a cohort, each phalanx is given its own identifying number from 1 to 5. Battle damage. Though they are hard to destroy permanently, Necron warriors are not immune to damage and often sport battle scars. Gift of the Aeons. Cryptex may upgrade their necrodermis of Necron warriors to better serve the dynasty. Gifts from the Overlord. Phalanx Glyph. All phalanxes have their own glyph. Using the example on the previous page and the guide below, draw your own phalanx glyph in the box. And for the battle damage, we have a D6 chart, exposed wiring, damaged locomotion, fractured skull plates. And for Gift of the Aeons, another D6 chart, reinforced necrodermis, weapon stabilizers, or threat detection matrix. Glorious Task. Phalanxes are often tasked with crucial missions. Write down your phalanx's goals. Example, destroy an enemy commander to earn glory for the Royal Warden. Record of Battle. As you play games, record your Necron's great deeds, victories, shameful defeats, and battle damage below. Examples, eliminated a unit of Primaris aggressors with Gauss Reaper fire, necrodermis splintered by the power sword of a Primaris lieutenant. Okay, Canoptek Scarabs, swarming automatons. These ravenous Canoptek constructs seek only to atomize living material and recycle it to benefit the Necron race. Report by Inquisitor Leonid Rostov. Date redacted. Reference 14/1555/551XF. Subject unknown. Synaptic constructs /synaptic scarabs. Commander protocols, or command protocols. Though they are simply mindless automatons, scarabs can be impelled to follow orders of Necron nobles and cryptex. When issued a command protocol, they follow the order relentlessly until a new order is issued or the source of the command is destroyed. Auto routines. Without a nearby noble or cryptek to guide them, the scarabs appear to revert to the most basic programming: devour all organic material. Replication. Scarabs can self-replicate. growing in number swiftly. It appears that they utilize a material they have consumed to construct more of their kind. A trickle soon becomes a flood. Anti-grav propulsion. Many Canoptek creatures, including Scarabs, are capable of flight. The exact method of propulsion, however, remains beyond Imperial science. Facing claws and mandibles. Scarabs are dangerous in great numbers. Their mandibles atomize flesh and armor, whilst their claws can strip flesh from the bone. Carrier wave receptor. Capture and inspection of intact Scarabs has proven impossible. However, they appear to respond to instructions from both cryptex and larger Canoptek creatures. This suggests some form of command receptor. Mineshackle Scarabs. The Necron arsenal contains many forms of Scarabs. Mineshackle Scarabs come in many sizes, but all serve to enslave mortal beings to the Necron's will. Nanoscarabs. Various forms of nanoscarabs have been observed. Some appear to repair the bodies of the Necron masters, whilst others strip flesh from the opponent's bones. Battle record. Bring your models to life by recording the details in the boxes below. Though they are not primarily designed for combat, Canoptek Scarabs devour material with ravenous fury. They are rightly feared by humans whose planets they have overrun, and they have often referred to in the hushed tones of murder bugs or death beetles. Legends of their terrible feeding frenzies continue to spread across the Imperium. Unit designation. Human settlers have created all manner of fearful titles for these swarms of Canoptek Scarabs. If you can't think of what to write, choose from the chart below or roll a 6-sided dice. Bone Strippers, Doom Spiders, or the Creeping Dread. Cryptek enhancements. Under the watchful eye of their Cryptek masters, Canoptek Scarabs may use the material they have devoured to enhance their forms. Enhancements D6 chart. Reinforced talons, enhanced propulsion, improved sensor systems. Stasis crypt protocols. Scarabs ordinarily dwell within Necron tombs. They are programmed to defend and maintain these stasis crypts. Protocols D6 chart. Devour all intruders. Seal stasis leaks. Monitor vital systems. Battle protocols. Should the time come for war, Canoptek Scarabs can be issued with command protocols that make use of their lethal tools. Protocols D6 chart. Swarm the largest foe, destroy enemy vehicles, absorb incoming fire. Tally of consumption. Canoptek Scarabs are programmed to devour all before them. Record the number of enemies they have consumed. Record of battle. As you play games, record your Scarab's deeds, victories, defeats, and battle damage below. Example: swarmed and devoured a Primaris Librarian. Entire swarm consumed by Primaris aggressor's liquid fire. Ultramarines, courage and honor. With MacLeod besieged by the Black Legion, Reboot Gilliman rallies his troops to drive back the traitors. Though their exploits upon the field of battle are stuff of legend. The Ultramarines are more than mere soldiers. Each is well versed in tactics, statecraft, and diplomacy, as they are with the blade and bolter. Victrix Guard. The Victrix Guard exemplifies the Ultramarines' training in the art of statecraft and warfare. Handpicked by Reboot Gilliman, they serve as his personal honor guard, as well as acting as diplomatic envoys to his allies. Not all conflicts are resolved with the edge of a blade. Brother Debius, Victrix Command. Since the dawn of civilization upon Macragge, the forefathers of the Ultramarines have known the value of education. The many planets that comprise the Empire of Ultramar are host to some of the greatest martial academies in the entire Imperium. From the moment of their birth, each and every prospective Ultramarine is tutored in the art of war, from blade work to marksmanship to grand strategy. Indeed, it is said that the Ultramarines of any rank possess the same tactical genius as a field marshal in the Astra Materium. Warfare, however, is not the sole focus of the Ultramarines' training. In the spirit of their Primarch, Reboot Gilliman, the chapter's recruits also learn statesmanship and diplomacy. These skills are considered invaluable for the Imperium, the Imperium is a vast, sprawling organization. Internal conflicts require negotiation, with blade and bolter only a last resort. The Ultramarines are respected across the Imperium for their martial prowess and their loyal service to the Emperor. Coupled with their mastery of strategy, the Ultramarines' talent for leadership has seen many of their numbers rise to positions of authority in the Imperium's many crusades and campaigns. Indeed, it is their leader, the Primarch Reboot Gilliman, who holds the position of Lord Commander of the Imperium. Marinus Kelgar, Chapter Master of the Ultramarines, is also known for his leadership, having assembled and led the Imperial forces during the Vigilus campaign, where he suffered near-fatal wounds in service. The Ultramarines have no true rivals in the Imperium's ranks, and they will work with any who seek to serve the Emperor and protect the Imperium, even if their ideals may clash. This willingness to compromise and engage with their allies has proven invaluable in the era Indomitus, where Imperial forces must fight alongside one another with more coordination than ever before. Across the galaxy, the Ultramarines can be found leading crusade fleets and task forces against the Imperium's foes. Personnel Report, Squad Sevestus. Name, Eminent Titus. Rank, Battle Brother. Title, Old Man Titus. Years served, 120. Planet of origin, Ix system, Realm of Ultramar. Some men are born to lead, others are born to advise. Both are made stronger by the presence of each other. Eminent Titus is known for his role well, knows his role well, and seeks no reward for his service. He served under many sergeants, offering them with his wisdom at every turn. The benefits of his experience has forged a path of leadership for many battle brothers. He continues to serve with distinction. Name, Brother Callistus. Rank, Battle Brother. Title, the Flamebringer. Years served, 97. Planet of origin, Estramus. Conar system, realm of Ultramarine. When he came to us, Brother Castilius was still hive scum through and through. His rebellious streak remains, yet he now speaks with the confidence and clarity of a talisman duke. On Corrigan II, it was he who rallied the Adeptus Sororitas to leave their ruined basilica and march to our aid, raising his flamer and bidding them unleash their own holy fury upon the Necron foes. Named Dothran Garrus, rank Battle Brother, title Falcon of Mir. Years served, 77. Planet of origin, McCraig system, realm of Ultramarine. Few men who have passed through the walls of the fortress of Hera possess Brother Garrus's talent for marksmanship. He is a true son of McCraig, broad of shoulder and strong of will. When he was but a boy, he served the wild and sealed McCraig's jagged peaks without fear. Scaled McCraig's jagged peaks without fear. He possesses all the Primarch's calm and poise, yet within his heart burns an ember of hatred for the Emperor's foes. Name Elsius Dolar, rank Battle Brother, title Sons of Asharia. Years served, 40. Planet of origin, Asharia. Valdarin system, realm of Ultramarine. There are few keener minds in the second company than Brother Dolar. Tactical disposition, strategy, and logistics, these are his areas of expertise. Many say he is destined for leadership, but such a position must be earned. Should he survive his time in the battle line, it seems certain Brother Dolar will ascend to the rank of sergeant and lead a squad of his own to battle. The Age of Witches. Warp powers abound. To the untrained mind, the warp offers only damnation. Inquisitor Gregoria Prexa. Many psychers fall to the worships of the Chaos Gods, whose whisper promised great powers. Opening the Great Rift had many terrible effects upon the galaxy. Some were immediately obvious and utterly catastrophic. Others took longer to become apparent, only revealing themselves as the corrupting power of the warp bled across the galaxy. After the Great Rift tore the Imperium in two, Inquisitors of the Ordo Herectus found themselves pressed as never before. For it was their duty to combat humans who begun to manifest dangerous psychic powers. On many worlds, local authorities logged instance of psychic mutation. As news of these disturbances filtered back to Terra, the Imperium came to acknowledge the terrible truth. Humanity's psychic evolution had gathered pace. The majority of newly created psychers proved unable to control their powers, resulting in many terrible disasters and loss of billions of lives. As the Imperium came to realize the full extent of the threat, they did what they could to stifle it. Crusades were declared, the and the entire planets were purged of life in order to stop the spreading mutation. The other races of the galaxies were similarly disturbed by the events. The Necrons, for existence, thought to neutralize the power of the warp. Their efforts resulted in the veil of soul-sapping energy that now shroud the Pariah Nexus. The psychic threat. The scale of disaster that faces us cannot be overstated. The mind of the untrained psyker cannot hope to wield or contain entropic power of the warp. Sooner or later, their mind breaks. At that moment, the door is open to the spawn of the dark gods. We've only one recourse. Find and destroy these rogue psykers before the Imperium itself is consumed by chaos. Message from Inquisitor Gregina Perixa Ordo Herectus. Psykers. The warp is a dimension of psychic energy that exists beyond the bounds of reality. Most intelligent creatures have a psychic connection to the warp, which is empowered by the emotions of living beings. Some sentient beings have stronger connection to the warp than others. They possess the ability to draw upon the warp's power, manifesting it in varied ways. Using even small amounts of this power is incredibly dangerous, however, for few minds are strong enough to wield it, without their souls being consumed by the demons and dark gods that dwell within the warp. Sanctioned Psykers. Sanctioned Psykers are trained by the Imperium to wield the warp without being a danger to others. Few humans possess the strength of will to complete the training required. As part of the training, the Psykers are often soul-bound to the Emperor, hardening their minds and souls against demonic possession. Alien Psykers. Alien Psykers are present in many of the galaxy's races. Eldari Psykers are known for their ability to predict and manipulate the future. Orc Weirboys, meanwhile, manifest unpredictable powers. The Tyranid hive mind also utilize the warp, using it to communicate and navigate across the galactic void. Chaos Psykers. Chaos Psykers are often referred to as sorcerers. These are Psykers who have thrown in their lot with the dark gods. Some are lured by the promise of power and wealth. Others seek the prospect of vengeance and immortality. Regardless of the reason for their fall, Chaos Psykers sow corruption and tragedy wherever they step. The Soulless Cohorts. The icy industrial world of Coronar is assailed by the Necron legions of the Zarkan dynasty. Determined to conquer new territories, noble Necron commanders summon the Soulless Cohorts and advance upon the frozen planet, determined to claim it in the name of the Silent King. The monolith cracked open, metal grinding. The monolith cracked open, metal grinding upon metal, as the obsidian walls split, revealing the yawning cylindrical chambers. Its center lit by arcs of green lightning. The chamber crackled and snapped, and from the glowing depth, the skeletal forms stepped forward. One by one, they stalked out into Coronar's soft blue light. The green glow of their vacant eyes and thrumming energy weapons, casting a sickly hue across the crisp snow. They move ponderously forward, their shoulders hunched, locked in step with one another. They arrange themselves in glistening ranks. Some bore scars upon their living metal forms, imperfections from countless years of conflict. They stood in line, guns raised, with no hint of movement, waiting for the command or sensory input that would trigger them to action. Ahead, the blazing engine trails of Space Marine vehicles can be seen, along with a familiar emerald beam of Gauss weapons. The battle had begun. Though through the portal stepped another figure, larger, broader, and festooned with the glit symbols of the Necron race. The Ankh of the Triarch on the being's armored chest glistened in the moonlight. A Necron lord. The noble leader glanced towards the ongoing battle, clutching a war scythe in one metallic hand and rotating a shining orb in the other. With a flick of his arm, he raised the tip of his war scythe and gestured to the conflict ahead. The cohorts have a share of the glory this day. Cohorts, advance, he growled, his words unnecessary. The order had already been issued, transmitted by the command nodes built into his metallic form. The habits of his flesh died hard, even for a Necron. Okay, we have location, Coronar system, Nephilim sector. Population 250,000, status unknown. Threat level, Alpha Extremis. Scout report H444/36/Coronar. Coronar and Pharaon systems report Necron activity. Adeptus Astratus strike forces dispatched. Reinforcements pending, awaiting situation report from Strike Force Command. Incapable of speaking a word in response, the silent ranks of Necron warriors burst to life once more. They marched forward in perfect unison, metallic feet making crunching sound as they trudged relentlessly across the snow and ice. As they approached, the forms of their foes resolved themselves in the darkness. The familiar power armor of Space Marines. Once again, the Necron Lord barked an unneeded order in his native tongue. The commands entered the entrained minds of his cohorts. Advance and destroy. The command protocols of the Necron warriors reacted to the Necron Lord's signal almost instantaneously. Impelled by the order, they raised their weapons, presented with a rich array of flesh and blood targets. The warriors' visual receptors began to feed the targeting information to their neural networks. Seconds later, 10 beams of unerringly accurate Gauss flare fire lanced out into the darkness, striking the Space Marines, atomizing flesh and ceramite alike. Caught unawares by the Necron reinforcements, the outnumbered mortals turned to meet the threat, bearing their own weapons to bear. The Necron warriors' dulled minds knew no fear, and they made no attempt to evade the punishing fusillade of bolter fire. Some were struck, their living metal bodies splintering. The chrome substance from which they were formed bled out across the frozen ground. The bodies of some damaged warriors began to knit back together, allowing them to rise and fight once more. Other Necrons were damaged beyond repair, shattered by explosive weapons and the sword blows of Space Marine opponents. The bodies of the destroyed warriors flickered out of existence, teleported back to their tomb of origin to be ready for battle once more. Those that remained standing continued to lumber forwards, joining their fellow androids and pouring fire towards Space Marine from all angles. Destroy the mortals, let no vermin despoil a Necron territory, shouted the Necron Lord. The Space Marine refused to be cowed, screaming their fury as they leapt into the ranks of Soulless Necron warriors, felling them by the dozen. Yet the Necron Lord urged his troops forward. Heedless to their losses, the Gauss fire consumed the remaining Space Marines in a furious storm of crackling green lightning. As the last of the Space Marines fell, the Necron warriors halted once more, their Gauss flares lowered. Without a command to guide them, their automatic subroutines took over, and they were drawn together into their silent phalanxes. The Necron Lord gestured with his war scythe, pointing to a cluster of human buildings in the distance. Onward, he cried, cloak billowing in the wind. Let us bring glory to the Pharaon. Phalanx Amonic, command received, initiating combat protocols, target acquired, opening fire. Decoded Necron command impulse, coroner. Diagnostic, Necron warrior. Sentience, unknown. Suspected, nil. Xenotech recovered, nil. Data, picked, log/file field report. As regards the inner working of the Necron race, the Amasai has blessed us with little information of worth. It seems Necron warriors form one of the lowest strata of Necron society. Their commands pay little heed to their safety. We suspect there are no more than autonoma. Without the presence of a Necron commander, warrior units appear capable of defensive action at best. They may still form a phalanx, but will attack non-Necrons, but they are incapable of forming complex attack plans without assistance. The Necron race's tendency to phase from existence upon destruction has rendered further investigation of this theorem impossible. Picked capture of a Necron warrior, Zarkon Dynasty, Third War for Damnos. And now the foldout. The Space Marines Chapter Organization. The organization of most Space Marines chapters owes itself to the Codex Astratus, the masterwork of Rabuk Gilliman, Primarch of the Ultramarines. So great is this book's influence upon the Space Marines that it is considered holy by many chapters. When he began work on the Codex Astratus, Gilliman's aim was to limit the size and power of each Space Marine chapter, whilst ensuring they would remain capable of defending the Imperium. This he achieved by recording all the military and logistical knowledge alongside stratagems and tactics for every conceivable military situation. He set down a strict structure for the organization of a Space Marine chapter, from the number of companies, warriors, and squads each chapter would have, to the iconology and uniform markings they would bear in battle. Many thousands of years have passed since Guilliman completed his tome, though most chapters continue to adhere to a majority of its laws. Only the most devoted have done so successfully. Even those who have rejected or strayed from the teachings, however, see the Codex as an important source of knowledge and wisdom. The Ultramarines, Guilliman's own chapter, are perhaps the best example of utter dedication to the Primarch's words. They still follow the Codex Astratus to the letter, dividing their warriors into 10 companies, each comprised of roughly 100 warriors, and led by a captain with decades of combat experience. It is no coincidence that the Ultramarines have remained one of the most effective, loyal fighting forces in the millennia since the adoption of the Primarch's Codex Astratus. The Battle Brothers of the Ultramarines chapter muster for war in all their glory. A small group of Crimson Fists battle a horde of orcs. Each battle brother fights with the strength and fury of 100 mortals. Brothers in arms. Though Space Marine chapters are constantly at war, they rarely fight as one unified force. Indeed, even the battle companies only deploy their full strength in most dire circumstances. A Space Marine chapter is a reactive force, often tasked with responding to a myriad of threats across a vast region of space. Most of the Space Marine strike forces dispatched to deal with these threats are relatively small, comprised of only a few squads of armed and equipped to take the enemy a hand. After all, a single Marine is worth 100 human soldiers. The Space Marines are known to fight alongside the Imperium's other armed forces as well. Occasionally, 2 Space Marine chapters may even pool their resources, combining their forces to eliminate a particularly troublesome foe. Let the Necrons gloat over their conquests and think of themselves victorious. There is no corner of the galaxy we cannot reach, and no cursed lair we cannot breach. Even now we strike on a dozen worlds, the might of the Imperium at our side. We shall have vengeance. Sergeant Decius, Ultramarines, 2nd Company. Ultramarine Strike Force. Led by their Primarch, Rabuk Guilliman, the Ultramarine Strike Force does battle with the forted Death Guard Legion and the traitorous demon Primarch Mordoran. Following the blazing light of Guilliman's sword, the chapter advances. As Primarch, Rabuk Guilliman is the highest ranking member of the Ultramarines. So it is that he leads the strike force to war. As Guilliman duels Mortarion, Marnus Kelgar, the Ultramarines chapter master, oversees the advance of the 1st Company veterans. Forced with such an implacable foe, As a relentless death guard, the Ultramarines Armory has dispatched a fleet of tanks and flying vehicles, bristling lethal weapons. This additional firepower is required if the Mortarian's plague-ridden legion are to be driven back. As the Ultramarines advance, Chief Librarian Tigurius bellows encouragement and bolsters the minds and bodies of his brothers with his psychic powers. At the fore, a squad of aggressors and a unit of reavers, both bearing the familiar gold trim of the heroic Second Company, advance on the Death Guard's stoic ranks of bright-hulled Terminators, unleashing torrents of cleansing fire and plunging their combat blades into rotting flesh. With Guilliman to inspire them, the Ultramarines fight in perfect unison, each unit undertaking the role assigned to it with the determination and bravery of which the Primarch would be proud. The Death Guard. The Death Guard were once loyal Space Marines before turning their backs on the Imperium and devoting themselves to chaos. Their rotten bodies are now swollen with disease and bloated by decay. And we have chapter structure, battlefield roles, command, veteran, battle line, close support, and fire support. The Ultramarine chapter is organized according to strict instructions laid down by Boot Guilliman's Codex Astratus. The graphic below shows the organizational structure of a Codex-compliant chapter, from chapter command down to the Nephilites of the 10th Company. Chapter command. At the top of the chapter command structure is the chapter master. Only the most powerful and respected warriors and leaders of the chapter can hope to rise to such a position. The chapter master is aided in his duties by 10 captains, each of whom command one of the chapter's 10 companies. Should he take to the battlefield, the chapter master is accompanied by an elite honor guard. Recalcium. Led by the master of sanctuary, the chaplains of the Recalcium are tasked with looking after the spiritual well-being of their battle brothers. Librarius. Led by the chief librarian, the chapter's librarians are responsible for recording the chapter's history as well as using their psychic powers in battle. Apothecarian. The chapter's apothecaries are skilled medics and surgeons, led by the chief apothecary. Their most important duty is protecting the chapter's gene seed. Armory. The Tech Marines of the chapter's armory, led by the master of the forge, are responsible for crafting and maintaining the chapter's weapons and vehicles. First Company. First Company is the chapter's most elite fighting force, comprised of the most experienced and battle-hardened veterans. The First Company's warriors are often split into attachments to other Space Marine strike forces rather than fighting as one. Battle Companies, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. The battle companies are responsible for undertaking the bulk of the chapter's fighting. The warriors who make up the battle companies fight as 6 battle line, who 2 close support, and 2 fire support squads. But each Space Marine has fought in all 3 roles during service in other companies. When the battle company goes to war, Its squads don a variety of arms and armor to fulfill any task of the conflict demands. Battle Line Reserve Companies 6 and 7. The 6th and 7th Companies are trained and equipped to fight in the chapter's battle line. Should a battle company suffer losses during a conflict, reinforcements are drawn from the reserve companies. Close Support Reserve Company 8. The 8th Company is made up of purely close support squads. When there is a fortress to swarm or an enemy defenses to overrun, the squad of the 8th Company are called to fight. Fire Support Reserve Company 9. Trained in the use of heavy weapons, the squad's 9th Company provides covering fire for battle companies, knocking out enemy strong points and heavy armor. Scout Company 10. The 10th Company is known as the Scout Company. It is made up of the chapter's neophyte warriors who have yet to become fully fledged Space Marines, and 10 squads of Vanguard Space Marines. Their manner of war is that of stealth, sabotage, reconnaissance, raiding, and disruption. Company structure. Each company is commanded by a single captain who is assisted by two lieutenants, bodyguards, and other officers. The 1st to 9th companies are each made up of 10 squads of Space Marines, dreadnought walkers, and support vehicles. During a conflict, however, the squads may be broken down into smaller combat squads consisting of 5 Space Marines each. The 10th Company is larger than the other company as it contains a variable number of neophyte scout warriors. Okay, and here we have their armory, hovering repulsors, a landed raider, and soaring Stonehawk interceptors are piloted by tech marines from the chapter's armory, who form unique bonds with stubborn machine spirits of their vehicles. Here we have Command, with the Primarch consumed by his duel with Mortarion. Chapter Master Marnius Kelgar commands his troops. I'll be assisted by Chief Librarian Degurius and his Vitrix Honor Guard, and a chaplain of the Reclusium. And here we have our veterans. Veterans of the 1st Company form the backbone of the assault. Veteran intercessors support the advance with bursts of accurate fire, hulking Terminators bearing a variety of deadly weapons more relentlessly towards the foe. The battle line. Oh no, that was the veterans. That's over here. These here are the battle line. Intercessors and infiltrators from the 2nd Company form the battle line. Supported by the Impulsor transport vehicle, these stalwart warriors greet the Death Guard advance with a hail of precise bolt fire. Our close support is down here, number 5. Space Marines from the 2nd Company, clad in Reaver Phobos armor, strike the Death Guard flanks. They harry the foe, firing special issue bolt pistols. Okay, the Necron warriors and Scarab swarm are assembled, and wind up with quite a few extra bits here. Got some rifles there, a couple heads, more rifles and heads. You remember each model had the option of 2 guns and 2 heads. So I'm not going to throw those away. I'm going to keep them handy. You know, you never know. You can use them to, enhance terrain, or, maybe glue some Necron skulls on a Space Marine belt like trophies. Who knows? But that is the assembly, and we're going to move on into the gameplay. And this week's playthrough is Duel in the Depths. The overload of Megaria's Necron invaders has risen from his slumber, and now, with the aid of his royal warden, will seek to confront the Space Marine leaders. Both the Primaris captain and the Necron overlord clash in an epic struggle for dominance. Space Marines destroy the overlord. The Primaris captain fears no Xenos, no matter their strength. He too sees an opportunity to fell the Necron's commander and reduce their android legion to mindless, directionless rabble. Necrons kill the captain. The Overlord knows the strength of his Space Marine foe only too well. He has no doubt that his legions will win the war, but by killing the Primaris captain, he hopes to achieve a swift victory. Okay, and as for the setup, we will be using the small playmat today, which I very much prefer. Put that in there. Okay, Primaris Lieutenant is on D. Primaris Captain is on E. The Royal Warden goes on A. And the Necron Overlord goes on B. Okay, and we have our rules. Okay, Primaris Captain. He has a plasma pistol with a 12-inch range. Is a single fire pistol with a strength of 7 and armor piercing of 3, damage of 1. It has a master-crafted power sword, melee weapon, melee range. Strength is user +1, armor piercing of 3, damage of 2. Primaris Lieutenant has a Neovolkite pistol, 15-inch range, pistol +2. Also, the ability is a Primaris Captain as Iron Halo, which he has a 4+ invulnerable save. And the Lieutenant also has a master-crafted power sword, same stats as the Captain's. His special ability is Storm Shield. This model has +4 invulnerable save. In addition, add +1 to armor save rolls for this model. And we have the Overlord has a Void Scythe. It's a melee weapon with melee range. Strength is user ×2. And the armor piercing of 4 and a damage of 3. It says each time an attack is made with this weapon, subtract 1 from the attack's hit roll. Ability is Living Metal. This model regains 1 lost wound at the start of each of its turns. The Royal Warden has a Relic Gauss Blaster, 30-inch range, rapid fire 2, strength of 5, armor piercing of 2, and damage of 2. He also has the Living Metal ability. And just a refresher of all the stats. Damage is D. When a model fails to save against this weapon, loses that many wounds. Note, a model may not make a shooting attack whilst in engagement range of 1 inch of an enemy. Ranged weapons cannot target an enemy that is within engagement range 1 inch of a friendly model. Pistol. Pistol can be used within enemy engagement range, but it can only target models within engagement range when doing so. Rapid fire. Double the attacks if the target is within half range. Melee. This weapon can only be used in the fight phase when the engagement within engagement range of 1 inch of an enemy model. Note, if a model has no melee weapons listed on its data sheet, that model may still make a melee attack using a close combat weapon. See below. Okay, down here we have the close combat weapon is melee type, melee range, strength as user, no armor piercing, and a damage of 1. Okay, turn 1. The Necron nobles stalk menacingly towards their Space Marine opponents, their ancient weapons casting an eerie green glow. And this will cover the move and shoot phase. The pair of Necron nobles can move, the Royal Warden can shoot at a Space Marine foe. The Necron nobles move forward to slay their Space Marine commanders. Follow the playthrough, use the examples at the bottom of the page if you need help. 1 move. The Necron Overlord marches forward to meet its opponent in single combat, and the Royal Warden trails in its wake. Okay, now if we look down at the example here, it says the Overlord moves towards the Primaris captain. The Overlord's range is 6. So he is going to move right there. And the Royal Warden rapid fires at the Primaris Lieutenant, scoring 2 hits. Is that within rapid fire range? So little, yeah, it's about 12 inches. The range on the Gauss Blaster is 30. Okay, so he is in rapid fire range. Okay, because it is rapid fire range, he is going to get 2 attacks with his Gauss Blaster. And just gets 2 attacks. And his ballistic skill is 3+, so both of those are hits. Okay, so now we'll roll 4 wounds. The strength, the Gauss Blaster is 5. The strength of the lieutenant, or the toughness of the lieutenant is 4, so that's higher. So he needs 3 or better to wound. Okay, 1 wound. And okay, so he has invulnerable save, 4+, and gets a +1 for the storm shield. And I believe invulnerable save ignores. No, maybe it doesn't ignore the armor penetration. All right. Well, let's see. He's gonna roll. Okay, he gets a 4 +1 makes it a 5. So he would save that. Okay. Okay. Necron's turn 1 continued. The Void Scythe crackles and flickers as the Overlord charges forward and swings his deadly blade towards the Primaris captain. This will be the charge and fight phase. Having closed the distance on his opponents, the Necron Overlord can charge the Primaris captain and fight him. The Necron Overlord is armed only with a melee weapon. He must charge into combat if he is to destroy the Space Marines. Okay, 3 charge. The Necron Overlord charges towards the Primaris captain. Void Scythe raised to strike. Okay, so he's gonna roll for the charge, which I believe charge is 2 dice. Yes. Okay, yeah, he definitely succeeded in his charge. So he closes in on the captain. Okay, and the weapon skill is 2+. All right, and scoring. Is the oh, okay. The attack is 4. I think I need to go back to the Royal Wardens because he actually should have rolled 6 and not 2. Okay, so now each attack you subtract 1 from the roll, so that misses. So we got 3 hits, and the strength is user times 2. Overlord's strength is 5, so that's 10. The captain's toughness is 4, so that is more than double. So he only needs a 2 to wound. Okay, so we got 3 wounds. And the captain has invulnerable save of 4. Okay, now I believe armor. I'm gonna have to double check that, but I don't think it ignores armor piercing. So the armor piercing is -4. So that's 3 1s. And the damage is 2. So that is 6 wounds. And that is just enough to actually kill the captain. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the Royal Warden here and roll his remaining attacks. His attack is 3, but I only rolled 2 for the rapid fire, so I gotta roll 4 more. Okay, ballistic skill is 3, so that one doesn't count. So he scores 3 hits. And his strength is higher, so he will wound on a 3+. Okay, 2 wounds. And the Lieutenant will attempt his invulnerable save. Okay, fails 1. Actually, no. Okay, his regular save is 3+. I'm gonna have to look invulnerable save back up. because the save is higher than the normal save, so I believe that it does ignore armor piercing. In which case, this one would save, and that would fail. Okay, so he takes 1 wound for, well, actually he takes 2 wounds, because it's 2 damage for the Gauss Blaster. So let's see if I can find a 2. There we go. 2 wounds on him. Okay, now the captain attacks the Overlord. So he's gonna fight with his... Oh, captain's dead. Never mind. Lieutenant cannot attack. He is outside the engagement range. So we move to Space Marines turn 1. Both Space Marines are armed with the finest weapons the armory of the Ultramarines has to offer. They bring their pistols to bear on the Necron foes. This will be the move and shoot phase. The captain and the lieutenant are armed with pistols, so both may fire, despite the fact that the captain is with engagement range of a foe. He's actually dead, so that doesn't matter. The Primaris Captain and Primaris Lieutenant are armed with pistols. They can use these weapons to fire at the Necrons, even when engaged. Okay, move. The Primaris Lieutenant sprints forward, aiming his Neo-Volkite pistol at the Royal Warden. Okay, so he is going to move up, and at this point, he is already in rapid fire range of the Royal Warden. So he just wants to get as close to the enemy as possible to get within that engagement range. Okay, so he moves fire forward and fires his pistol. Primaris Lieutenant has an attack of 4. Ballistic skill of 2+, so this one fails. And his strength is weaker than the toughness of the Royal Warden, so he's going to be at a +1 difficulty. So he's going to need to roll a 5 or better to hit. Or wound, rather. Okay, he gets 2 wounds. Now the Royal Warden has a save of 3+. Okay, so the armor piercing on the pistol is 0, so takes no damage. Okay, Space Marines turn 1 continued. The Primaris Lieutenant joins a combat with the Overlord, swinging his power sword with fury. The Overlord strikes back, Void Scythe ready to bear. Okay, this will be the charge and fight. As the Lieutenant charges in, the Captain duels with the Overlord. Okay, the Primaris Lieutenant rushes towards the Necron Overlord, drawing his power sword from its scabbard as he charges. Okay, and that's 8. That's definitely far enough. So he's going to move to the Overlord, and he is going to fight. Again with the attack of 4. Okay, his weapon skills 2. Okay, so that is 4 hits. And strength is lower, so he's going to need a 5+ to wound. And he gets 3 wounds. Okay, the Overlord will roll save. Okay, so save is 3+, so that automatically fails. The armor piercing is 3, so that fails. And that's reduced to a 3, so he saves there. Okay, so he takes 2 wounds as well. Okay, and since the Necron charged, I don't think he gets that fight phase. Let's see here. Space Marines clash with the Necron Overlord, their blades ringing out as they strike their opponent's living metal body. Models that have made a charge move this turn fight first. After that, starting with the player whose turn is not taking place, players take turns selecting models and fighting with them. Each model can fight only once. If a model is within engagement range of 1 inch of an enemy model, it can fight. Okay, so I guess he can fight. Alright, I think he's about to kill the lieutenant right here. Overlord has an attack of 4. Weapon skill of 2. Okay. So, 2 hits. And his strength is double. So, he's only going to need a 2+ to wound. Wow. Okay, so he only gets 1 wound. And, oh, jeez. Okay, and he rolls a 5 for the invulnerable save. So he saves it. Alright, so now we'll go back to the Necron's turn. And still within rapid fire range. So the Royal Warden, oh, he can't, because he's within engagement range, or the Overlord is within engagement range. So I think what we're gonna do here yeah, I guess I mean, he can fall back, but the Overlord would do more damage than the Royal Warden would, I think, anyways. Alright, so we're just gonna the Overlord's gonna just attack him. And he gets 3 hits, 3 wounds. And 1 save, so he takes another 2 wounds. Okay, he's at 4 wounds, so 1 hit and he's dead. So Lieutenant's gonna swing back. The Royal Warden's not gonna do anything at this point. Okay, he gets 2 hits. And you need a 5 or better. Oof. Okay, 1 wound. Which the Overlord does not save. So the Overlord is now at 3 wounds. Okay, gonna go to the Necron's turn. No, the Space Marine's turn. And he's gonna try and finish him off with his Chainsword, which he gets 2 hits. One wound. Oops. Which the Overlord saves. So the Overlord's gonna swing back. And the the Royal Warden's just sitting here watching this all play out. Okay. So weapon skills 2, so that's 4 hits. And 3 wounds. Ooh. And the Lieutenant fails his saves. So the Necrons have won this battle. Okay, so that does it for this week's playthrough. We'll be back next week where I will be going through the torture of painting those other 10 Necron warriors and the Scarabs as well. Okay, we'll see you then. Okay, so you might have noticed that during the building there, my microphone went out. I just got the damaged one replaced, and apparently I did not charge it long enough. So I apologize for that. Anyways, hopefully we can continue next week without any technical difficulties. We'll see you then.